Yeah, obviously, the last 4 weeks of my life, I've been extremely bored, and there's nothing that I've been dealing with professionally, personally, or emotionally to make me worry about anything. But no, I obviously you guys that cover us, I know I'm using a little sarcasm. Last 4 weeks have been interesting, and been interesting personally, been interesting professionally, and then obviously culturally and everything else that's been going on that impacts me in my walk of life.
Dave, go ahead.
Hey, Frank, thanks for doing this, first of all. And second, just how are you feeling right now? Is everything all clear to after your test and getting better from it?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I go in for knee replacement Thursday morning, so I'm back to the worrisome part of it because anytime you get older and they put you to sleep and they're going to take a piece of your body out and replace it with titanium, it's an uncomfortable mindset to be in. But I've tested negative twice since I tested positive. My spirits are back up, Dave. God helped me and guided me and kept my family negative and allowed me to get to this place without any of those crazy symptoms. But psychologically, it's a burden, and it's an uncomfortable burden. But I feel good right now. Other than the nerves, emotionally, I'm trying to figure out what's going on in society right now. But personally, I feel my spirits are good again.
Pete, you're up next.
Hey, Frank, thanks for doing this. I'm glad you are feeling okay now and have gotten through it. You talk about society and what we're going through. Have you been able to chat with your guys a little bit about how they're feeling right now when we see what's going on across the country?
Absolutely, Pete. I've been doing that my whole career.
Yeah.
It's not something I started last week or 2 years ago or when the situation in Ferguson. It's what I grew up seeing. So I've been battling this with everyone in my neighborhood because I'm a big believer that there's two kind of races in this country. Some people run the 100-yard dash, and other people like me, we run the 100-yard hurdles. And it's what I've always said. Some people have obstacles to get to the finish line, and somehow, some way, you got to deal with the obstacles and get to the finish line when you come from certain places or you look a certain way, and that exists. And I don't care what anyone says; it's out there. I've lived it. I felt it, But I also believe in this country. And that's where my conflict comes. I believe in everything this country stands for. I believe in the progress that is made in this country during my time on this planet, let alone over the past 100 years. So I've got internal conflict all the time because there's a lot of good, but there's also some ugly. But I talk to our team about that all the time. The hardest thing with players, especially this age group, is them allowing themselves to let you into their core. That's the hardest thing there is to do with kids. It's hard to do with my children. It's hard to do with my players. It's the hardest thing to do. 16, we had a conversation that was initiated before President Trump even became the Republican nominee. And it wasn't about President Trump. It was just about the issues that we had because of the killings in Charleston and the situation in Ferguson. And that's where it started. And Sindarius is the one that started it. And he basically just said racism. And that's a hard word. That's a really, really hard word. It's just like hate. Hate is a really hard word. But we sat in that locker room for 3 hours. And Sindarius, Dwayne Notice, heck, as Mike Kotsar as a freshman spoke on the topic, even though he's from Estonia. So it's those are powerful moments that I continue to have. But the hardest thing to do, that was Sindarius in his senior year. Sindarius as a freshman would have shelled up and not said a word. So that's the hardest thing to do, is to get them to allow you into their core, so then you can better understand them. But you have to have the conversations. If you don't, you're failing kids.
Josh Kendall, you're up next.
Hey, Frank, glad you're feeling better. Good luck with the surgery.
Appreciate it, man.
What kind of conversations do you guys have regularly with your players about their interactions with police and authority figures? And does it make you angry that you have to have those conversations?
I don't think it makes me angry. I think it's part of continuing to educate. Here's something. The guy that's like, I don't know, third in charge in the City of Miami Police Department, he and I grew up, same neighborhood, got in fights with each other and fights with everyone else, did wrong, got in trouble together. And, we both became teachers together. He became a coach just like me, but then he chose to become a police officer because he felt that would be a bigger calling for what he was trying to do. And and he's one of me. I mean, he speaks to me like we're still 18 years old. And I had him speak to our team a couple of days ago on Zoom. And, he asked our coaches and our team, he said, what is the second leading cause of police officers getting killed? None of us knew. He said a routine traffic stop. And that blew me away. So that tells me that it's a big responsibility of mine to make all my players, whether they're white or black, because we can get stopped for an expired tag. We can get stopped for speeding. We can get stopped for reckless driving. We can get stopped for racial profiling. We can get stopped for any of those reasons. When that police officer stops us, he's on edge because he knows that is a moment where a majority of police officers get shot and killed or get killed, period. And so we have to learn how to diffuse that moment. And do I get mad? I don't think I get mad. I think it's our journey, Pete. We have to educate, man. And we want to listen to one side, but sometimes we don't listen to the other. And that's what creates anger. Anger is when voices go upon deaf ears. But I think it's a duty and it's a responsibility. The part that's sad is the racial profiling. And Udonis Haslem, who obviously I've got an unbelievable relationship with and respect for the man that he's become, he said something at the situation that he went to Miami to try and calm the waters a little bit. He said the badge is not the one with the hate. It's the soul of the man that has hate. And that man had hate, not the badge. Don't blame the badge, man. But there's a lot of things that need to be worked on whether it's police training or whatever it may be, to stop the racial profiling when it comes to police officers. But Pete, I'll leave you with this one. The reason I'm still here is because police officers took care of the kids in the neighborhood. Without them, we get in trouble. So there's a lot more good than bad. I know that to my core. I've experienced it. I've experienced the ugly too now. I've been racially profiled as a driver in a car. So I understand. But I've been protected and helped by police officers so many more times. And, we got to stand up and fix the problems, but don't get this twisted now. I'm madly in love with the country and what that badge stands for the majority of police officers.
All right, Colin, you're up next.
Hey, Frank, glad you're feeling better. I kind of quick question. I saw some of your guys retweet a few things and post some stuff on social media. What are they kind of feeling right now? How are they kind of relayed what they're feeling to you? And what have those conversations been like with them about kind of processing that emotion?
I'm trying to get them to speak, Colin. And like we got a Zoom call tomorrow. And I'm going to tell them, like, you guys are so quiet on our Zoom call, but yet you're on social media retweeting and sending these subliminal messages. Awesome. share them with me, man. Share them with me so I can help. You can't give me a blank stare, and that's the part that I can only explain to you the journey I've been on. I was a grown man, and Anthony Grant, the head coach of Dayton, we've been best of friends forever. And I never knew until we were both successful men some of the fears that he lived with. And we were together every day. And I started learning because I know what he's about. I know what his family's about. I know who he is to his core. And he's got nothing but love for people. But there's certain fears that I learned from him when we were both grown men. It's important that we communicate that to the people that are around us, so we can best understand one another. And that's the biggest deal. And I get the frustration part. I used to be a have-not. I was a have-not for the majority of my life. And now, because I'm a head coach, everyone thinks I'm a have. The only thing that we have in common, it's what I try to tell players, is the people that come from the have-not place. The only reason you then get labeled as a have is either you're athletically gifted, you have an unbelievable ability to make people laugh, you're a great singer performer, not actor, or you go to college like the actors do, or at least a majority of them, and then you get an education, and then you learn to coexist and express yourself and learn to respect others, and then they respect you, and then you move forward, and then you get a seat at the table. So those are the conversations I try to have with players to make them understand. And that's where my analogy of the race comes from. Some people run the race without anything in front of them. Some of us have to get over, through, and under objects to get to the finish line. And and it's part of it. And it's better now than it was 20 years ago. It's better now than it was 10 years ago. Heck, it's better now than it was 5 years ago when everything happened in Ferguson. The number of issues with police officers and especially black males, that number continues to go down because the police departments are working at education. But unfortunately, we're still close enough to the bad that there's some folks that still have that hatred in them. And we got to keep trying to figure out a way to eradicate that and drown that. It's what I try to tell the players, Colin. That's the conversation that I try to create with them.
Ben, you're up.
Hey, Coach. Glad to hear you're doing better. Wanted to ask just kind of how important do you think it is for coaches to sort of use their platform, if they so choose, to speak out on kind of issues of social justice and race in this country?
I think we all have to be comfortable in doing whatever it is that we need to do. What doesn't work is if you do feel a certain way and you keep your mouth shut, or you speak in a phony way. That phoniness doesn't work. You know where anger comes from? When you make someone think that you're doing something to help them, and in reality, you're just trying to trick them through. That creates anger on the other side. And, so phoniness don't work. I mean, I think we're leader of young people. I don't try to educate my black players differently than my white players or my Estonian players. That's when my wife and I wrote that letter. That's why we shared that comment on there. In sports, we're so consumed with learning from each other and how much, especially in team sports, how much we need each other to find success together, that we don't look at each other as black, white, Hispanic. We learn to speak each other's slang. We learn to respect one another for each other's ways, because we're trying to coexist so we can all succeed together. And but I think as coaches, I'm not big on forcing people to do something they're not comfortable doing. But whatever it is that you think you need to do, like I'm comfortable doing this. I need to eliminate those obstacles that are in my race. I'm willing to listen to others. to see what they think, what offends them, what they think they know. Because, like I told you, I thought I knew everything about Anthony Grant, and I didn't understand some of his fears until we were both grown men, and it wasn't until he told me about them and made me understand certain things. So, but I think as a leader of young college kids, especially in our sport where, it's a good percentage of them are African Americans, I think it's important that we educate our players and that they know that we are with them and that we are here to help them and guide them and continue to create ways for them to find success. Because our duty is to create openings and make that path easier for the next one. And that's what I try to do. And, hopefully if I do it and other coaches are comfortable doing it, it opens the doors for more coaches to step up and speak on this topic, because the players need us to help them. They need us to guide them. They need us to give them and their families a voice.
All right, Phil, you're up.
Okay. Thank you. Frank, thanks for doing this. You look good. I think the virus actually did you some good.
Don't lie. We're going to start with lies right away. I mean, come on. Do I need to start this fake news stuff? Phil says I look good.
Well, three things. Number one, do you know where you got the virus? Number two, what's your latest update on AJ Lawson and his plans? And thirdly, how quickly do you think you'll fill your staff opening?
Yeah, Phil, that's was my biggest unsettling feeling, is that we as a family took unbelievable care of how we handled this whole lockdown. We go to Publix. We took care of what we did. We stayed away from people. We didn't go to anyone's house. We didn't have anyone over our house. We kept our children in the house. Heck, my wife and I literally had to fight our 21-year-old because he wanted to be a 21-year-old. And we had to make him understand, if you're going to be in this house, you're not getting us sick. You got to stay here. And I played golf 4 or 5 times during that time. And you got your own cart. I played with one of your favorite people most of the time, Eddie Fogler. And, we all keep our distance from each other to respect the fact of the unknown. When I went to take the test, I was consumed with the knee surgery, and I feared having that thing stuck in my nose because I saw the way it looked on TV and it looked barbaric. The last thing on my mind, because we had been so careful, was that I was going to be positive. And when I got the call 2 days later, it just floored me. It absolutely floored me. And I probably handled it wrong with my family, because I was on the exercise bike working out when I got the call, and my wife happened to be walking out. I told her, and I walked in the house, and my kids were eating lunch, and I just laid it on them like we were talking about going to the park. And so I freaked everybody out, which compounded the whole problem. But I was freaked out. I couldn't believe it. But so no, I have no idea. Number two, AJ, the decision to stay in the draft or come back was supposed to be tomorrow. Obviously, that deadline's been extended to an undetermined date. The NCAA is waiting for the NBA to officially make a decision on their draft. We talk almost daily. I talked to him earlier today. As of right now, our players are due back on campus on June 29th to start the whole testing, putting in bubble, and his plan is to be here on June 29th, unless something changes. But and then the last part, I've been having conversations with PC for about a month, and soon as coaches, we always keep like this list in our back pocket of guys that if we have movement that we'd like to pursue. I've got, 4 or 5 guys on that list for me. And I immediately, as soon as I started getting in those conversations with Perry, where I thought this is what he was going to do, I started contacting the top 2 on that list, and that's where I'm at right now. So timetable wise, since I'm having surgery Thursday, it's going to be hard for me to conduct any interviews or conversation. I don't call them interviews; they're conversations. I'm not hiring an unknown. Whoever I hire is somebody that there's an understanding between each other already. But I'm not going to get in conversations with people when I'm on oxycodone and I got drool coming down the side of my mouth. So we're probably 10 days out from me actually sitting down and saying, okay, this is the direction I want to row in. But I've got a pretty good feel where I want to go with it.
Scott, you're up.
Hey, Frank, just wondering if your perspective changed at all after having COVID on when kids should come back, when kids should have voluntary workouts, when you should get the world started again. Did your perspective change after having it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feared it when it started. I said this at the time. I was sitting watching the Arkansas versus Vanderbilt game at the SEC tournament because we were playing the winner the next day. And I was uncomfortable sitting there. And I went to my hotel room that night, and everything I can think of is, man, I don't know if I want to play this game. I couldn't say that to the players because I asked them and they all wanted to play, but I was already unsettled. And I say this all the time. If you tell me I got to walk through some doors and there's a grizzly bear on the other side, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to go take on the grizzly bear. But if you tell me I got to walk through the doors and I got no idea what I'm going to fight on the other side, I ain't walking through those doors very, very in a comfortable way. And this is an unknown. Even with me right now, negative, that's awesome. This is brand new. Does anyone know what happens 6 months after you test positive? Does anyone know if there's a secondary effect that's going to kick in? I mean, so those concerns are still there for me. So yes, that's why we didn't bring our players back now. Like football's coming back now. It was available for our players to come back now. I'd rather wait. Let football. God bless them. They've jumped into this both feet in. The players are excited. The coaches are excited. Ray Tanner, the leadership of our campus, President Caslin, they've done an unbelievable job on creating a plan to make this safe. And there's a vision in place. That's why working for those guys is so awesome, because they don't just draw straws from a hat or whatever. They actually put things in place, and there's a belief, and then there's a secondary plan. And so I'm excited to see how the football thing takes place, but we'll wait till July to figure out how we're going to handle this. But yes, my initial reaction was I can't wait. And when I found out, I stepped back and I said, what am I going to tell a parent if their child comes here and gets infected, and God forbid they go home for August and they infect their family? I don't know what I do. I'd rather, like everything I do in my life, I'd rather be safe than have to call and say I'm sorry. Some people rather say I'm sorry and say the hell with it. I'd rather be on the safe side.
Cam, did you have a question?
No, they got me. I'm good.
Okay, great. Dave, go ahead.
Frank, we've seen some incidents this past week where, some young people have posted some social media things they probably regret. It happened at USC, Cardinal Newman across there. Is that something that you warn your players about or have to take heed of yourself by saying something maybe when you're angry and then thinking better of it later on?
Social media, all social media is for teenagers is what social was before. They used to go get in trouble on the street, at the mall, at the park. Now they get in trouble on social media because they stay on social media. And when you combine the fact that we've had the quarantine going on, they really don't have anywhere to go. So all they do is stay on social media. And you guys have heard me say this before. Social media is fun, but it's full of you know what too. And I spend a lot of time talking to our players, talking to my children about social media. I won't read my mentions, and it's sad because every time I read my mentions, the only thing that draws attention is negativity. You can post something positive, and maybe 3 people are interested in it. Now, if you insult somebody, the whole world thinks the whole world of social media thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And and I'm not into the name calling. I'm not into the living life of insulting one another. That's not the way I function. So I don't read that garbage. But social media is a powerful place in the world of teenagers and 20-year-olds. So we have to continuously educate the young people in our that we're affiliated with, and hope that they don't make that mistake. There's a couple guys on my team. I've had conversations with them. I've had other people speak to them. Like, you can't, there's certain things you can't retweet. You just can't. And if you do, you're jeopardizing your place at this university. It is what it is. And if, there's nothing wrong with protest. But if you represent whatever organization you're a part of, if you're willing to go represent yourself in a way that's against everyone in your organization, you have every right to do that. But you also have a responsibility to your bosses, and you jeopardize getting fired. That's life. I try to teach that to the players in their use of social media.
Hale, you're up next.
Coach asked this as a son who had to hear from his dad a few years ago how much he needed to do to help him after his knee replacement surgery. Just curious if you had that conversation with your kids yet, and what are your expectations of them?
Yeah, my daughter just makes fun of me. That's all she does. She just thinks I'm like the oldest human being put on the planet Earth. My oldest son, all he wants to do is, because he's young and buffed up, he's dying to find out if he can kick my rear end in anything physically, in lifting and anything. It's always a challenge. And then the little one, let me give you a perspective of the little one. I sat my kids down at K-State, and I told them that I was taking the job at South Carolina and we're moving to Columbia. My girl and my little one both ran. My daughter started yelling, "You're the worst human being in the history of the world. I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'll never have another friend in my life." The little one just took off. About 10 minutes later, he came back, and he had all his K-State shirts, and he put them on the couch, and he says, "When do I get new shirts?" So that gives you perspective what my little guy's mindset's all about. But they're trying. I think they're nervous because they know I'm nervous, and you live with people, you can feel them. You know when they're nervous, and and they know I'm nervous about this, and so I think all their jokes and all that stuff is coming from a place of nerves right now because they feel me.
All right, and Colin?
Frank, kind of circling back to the assistant a little bit, just first of all, what did PC mean to you and to this program for however long he was here? And when you're looking to hire a new one, what kind of qualities are you specifically looking for when you're trying to hire somebody, and kind of what are you focusing on during that interview or conversation?
First of all, PC, I mean, what he's done for so many young people, young coaches, young players, everywhere he goes, they win. There's a reason for that. He's an unbelievable human being. He's got one of the best hearts of any person I've ever come across, let alone coaches. All he does is care for people. And now his first year here, he came in my office. We're in the middle of the season, and I think you guys can remember we used to lose a lot back then. And he walks in my office and he says, "You all right?" What are we going to say? "No, I'm not." I said, "Yeah, what's up?" "Frank, seriously, what do you need?" I said, "PC, I don't need anything, man. He says, Frank, I've been a head coach. People only give you their problems. Nobody ever asks to make sure that you're okay. And I started laughing. And then he sat down and we had like a long conversation. And it's who he is. It's all he wants to do is help. But you know, it's I don't think you replace him. He's too valuable in what he brought, unique to himself. But what do I want from whoever I hire? Just like when I hired him, nobody guessed that that's who I was going to hire. I'm not into hiring the sexy name that everyone reads online. I'm not into hiring the person that has an ego bigger than this campus. I don't run around with an ego. I don't need an assistant coach running around with an ego. I need an assistant coach that's going to coexist with the guys that we got in place, with not just Chuck and Bruce, but also with Scott and Andy and everyone else that we got in place on our staff. We obviously recruiting is important. I got to find a guy that recruits like me. I'm not going to cheat, so I can't go get me a guy that's going to be a hustler, that's going to just deliver players. That's the biggest bunch of grub I've ever heard in my life. You know, it's got to be a guy who rolls up a sleeve and he's willing to recruit the way we recruit, which is patient and not recruit off a scouting report, not recruit off a player ranking list, but recruit the player that he sees, develops, grows, and fits into how we do things, so that young man can come here and have success. So that's what I'm looking for. And then obviously on the court, I'm big on player development. Always have been, always will be. It's got to be somebody that gets engaged in a workout, in a practice, and has the enthusiasm, the energy to chase these guys around to do right.
Everybody, I did not get a prompt that we had 10 minutes left, but based on the time, we have 5. It may get extended. I'm not certain, but we'll go ahead and do last question to John Whittle. And then Frank, when you're done with answering that question, if you want to say anything to kind of wrap it up. So go ahead, John.
Yep.
Hey, Frank, thanks for doing this. I'm glad you're feeling okay. You talked a lot last year that Scott Greenwald always gives you a pretty good idea of how your team is going to be based on the work over the summer. Yeah. Given that the summer is obviously going to look a lot different, do you think you'll have a feeling of how your team's going to be before you actually get onto the court in September, October? Or how do you think that this is going to kind of play out from a basketball on-court standpoint?
It's the great unknown, John. And but that's where the fact that we basically return a whole team, that's where the way we try to do things, to create an open dialogue, to understand our work ethic, to understand how we do things, is so important to try to manage this moment. I have a lot of faith in the guys on our team. I have a lot of faith in the players in place, their character, their talent, their enthusiasm for the uniform, and their love to play the game. I've got a lot of faith in that. They get along. It's not like they're going to stop getting along because we're all home. You know, it's but there's a lot of unknown. I don't. This is the way they used to do it before I got into college, which when the semester ended in late April, early May, the coaches said sayonara, and everyone left, and you reported again in August, and there's no one on campus in the summer. But since I've been a head coach, your whole team's on campus the whole summer. So it's a little different. It's a little different, but the unity of our staff, I think, will be extremely helpful. The fact that we got a lot of guys back, like we had a lot of first-year guys back, and with all due respect to everyone that's taking grad transfers and all that, those guys are all used to doing things differently. That takes time. It's everyone thinks it's just a talent. Yeah, talent's part of it, but talent might get you through the first week, and then the crap gets real, and then you need everything else on top of talent, and the talent gets in the rear, in the backdoor seat or whatever you want to call it. And so it takes time to build a team because you got to make everything connect, and it's not just a talent thing. And so there's a lot of unknown, expecting having to depend on a lot of freshmen. I think it'd be really, really interesting, especially early in the year. But the fact that we got everybody back, I think that we all understand each other, and we'll do our best to adapt.
Frank, Phil has one more question, so we're gonna see if we can fit that in. And
I'll
then
be
like
quick. I know I'm never quick. I'll be quick.
Okay. Go ahead, Phil.
Hey,
There
Phil.
you go. Yeah. I got you.
Phil,
Phil,
I've lost 20 pounds, so I'm not a left tackle anymore.
I noticed all the football helmets. No, I'm just going to advise you to make sure the doctors don't cut off any other unused parts when they're having that surgery. And
my wife's sitting here listening to you.
Well, that's any other unused parts. I'm just saying. No, but I wanted to ask you. You always say you keep recruiting because of the transfer situation.
Yeah.
Any indication from any current players of transferring out? Any indication of anybody possibly transferring in?
I hope not, Phil. No, there's no indication. Everyone's in a good place. Everyone's excited. We just had a Zoom call with every single parent last night. They're all excited. This team really likes it here. They like their role. They like how we do things. They enjoy each other. They can't wait to get back. This transfer thing, though, is crazy. It's when guys go to college and they're in a good mood and they play every game and they still get up and leave and they win and go to the NCAA tournament and they still transfer, it's something's crazy. I'm a transfer. You've heard me say that before. I'm not anti-transfer, but this dynamic we got right now, I don't understand it. But no, I don't foresee us taking anyone in, and I don't foresee anyone leaving.
Frank, anything to wrap up, or are we good to go?
Yeah, no, it's I'm good. I'll be out of pocket for a while here, just because trying to put two sentences together when you're on Oxycontin, whatever that oxy stuff's called, is not very productive. But if you guys need me, I'm here. I pray that the leaders of our community, we worry too much about the leaders of other places. We got to worry about the leaders of our community. We got to make sure that we all unite here and take care of our backyard. You guys are always asking me in recruiting, are you going to recruit your backyard? Well, if you worry about recruiting outside of your backyard, then your backyard burns down and you don't find out. We got to make sure that our leaders in our community continue to do their part to bring us peace and joy and make us all understand the challenges and make us all understand that there's a lot more good than bad. So we can live with peace because we respect each other. But with that, if you guys need me, give me about a week, holler at me. If not, you guys have a great time. Thank you.